Hey everybody, welcome to the home studio. I had visions of doing this first episode of Outside the Notes, or Between the Notes. I haven't quite decided what to call it. In some fancy studio in a church, some groovy kind of place. But thanks to the virus, we're just going to do this from my studio. Nothing fancy here, lots of technical things behind me. If you're in the music business these days, you've got to do technical things, and you've got to use computers, you have to use software. So behind me there's 4 screens, 5 I guess actually counting the laptop, and I just use them for different things: music engraving, music sequencing, emails, Facebook, all the above, all the stuff you need to really succeed in the music business these days. Got to stay connected. And unfortunately, software isn't cheap, gets a little expensive, but it's worth doing. Which brings me to this first episode of Between the Notes. It was technology mixed with emotion that led to me writing a song that I'll probably be known for more than any other, and that was Prayer of the Children. So I bought a synthesizer. It was actually a piece of outboard gear called a Vocoder. Those of you in the business know what that is. If you don't, it's basically a piece of software that comes in a box or in a keyboard or in a computer that takes your voice and instantaneously transposes it to whatever notes you play with MIDI. So I'm going to demonstrate how this works. So we'll do the technical side, and then I want to tell you the story of how Prayer of the Children came about. Since so many people have asked me through the years, and so many people get it wrong, and there's all kinds of apocryphal stories out there. So first of all, I'm going to demonstrate the vocoder. This isn't the one that I used when I wrote Prayer of the Children. That was a Digitech vocalist, and I have a newer version of those that comes in rack mounted, but I have this other version, this Roland VP550, which is just a keyboard with the vocoder inside. They all do basically the same thing with varying degrees of proficiency, but I'm going to show you how this works. So first of all, you have a microphone that goes into the vocoder, and then I have this keyboard as a MIDI keyboard. It doesn't make any sound. See, if I play it by itself, no sound. However, if I sing, one note sounds like one person, 2 notes I play 2 people, 3 notes 4, and then I can be a 5. So I can have up to 5 different notes at the same time. And so when I got this machine, I just started messing around with it. Ooh, oh, do, It's really awesome, and to be able to write choir music with and hear it all at the same time, it's awesome. A gift to be simple is a give, bad key. A give. It's a little weird when you use it because you're thinking one note and you're playing another note, and it's a bit like Sybil. Ooh, oh, hallelujah. Perfectly in tune, and it all blends with me. So anyway, I got this machine, and I was kind of messing around with it, when I first got it. And this literally was it 25 years ago? It was a long time ago I got this, early days of this kind of software. And I was just kind of messing around one day. Something like that. You can hear little snippets of Prayer of the Children in there. And I was messing around with it, kind of writing this kind of Celtic-y thing, kind of Gregorian chant in my studio. And in the other room, I could hear CNN playing. And I guess I'm giving a plug for CNN. At that time, it was the only one available. There wasn't MSNBC or Fox or any of those other ones, but anyway, CNN, and they were doing a story on the war in Yugoslavia that was going on. It was a civil war, and that really resonated with me because I had lived back in 1977 to about almost 1979. I had lived in the former country of Yugoslavia, and I had done service work there. And I loved the people there. I'd lived in Belgrade, I'd lived in Zagreb, I'd lived on the coast in a place called Zadar, I lived in Karlovac, all these really great places that were in what now the country of Serbia, the country of Croatia. Traveled quite a bit into Bosnia. I've gone into all the other places that made up at that time the country of Yugoslavia. So it was really disheartening to me to hear that these people that I loved were suddenly now fighting each other. Now, these tensions had brewed for many, many years. They were a country that didn't really want to be a country, and they got put together not by themselves, but by the United States, what had been the precursor to the UN. They kind of crammed all these countries together and said, "You are now a country, and here's this guy Tito who's going to run the ship." Well, to his credit, like him or not, Tito did a pretty good job and kept all the people together and working together. They had great basketball teams, got great music, got great swimmers. I mean, they're a real cohesive country. Anyway, when I heard on CNN that there was this war, it really affected me. So while I was playing with my new machine and while I was listening to CNN and the story of the people that were hurting and being killed in my former country of Yugoslavia, I came up with I was just kind of playing my feelings, and I thought of the children, because children they don't care about war. They don't care about who's got the money or who's got the land or who's got the power. They just want mom and dad to be there at the end of the day. So, and they want a warm meal, and they want to be able to play, and they want happiness. They want school, all those things that, not too bad to wish for. But wars are always fought about adult dumb stuff. So I decided to write this song, and I hadn't really thought about. I mean, I'm not known as a vocalist or a vocal writer. I write mostly instrumental music, but I started to kind of think of just this idea. In my mind, I had imagined this room. I had imagined children. Their parents aren't there. They don't know where their parents are. The room's kind of bombed out, and the kids are huddled and thinking to themselves. And so I started with this simple line: "Can you hear?" Just that simple thing. And I wanted to work with the emotions and the senses. Can you hear? Can you feel? And that's really how the song started. Can you hear the prayer of the children? And the song kind of wrote itself pretty quickly. I shouldn't say it that way. This sounds like some miraculous thing. It did go very quickly. Once I had the idea that, can you hear the prayer? Can you feel the heart? Can you hear the voice of the children? It came out. The song kind of really wrote itself, and it was really satisfying to write. But like I said, I'm not a singer, so I kind of wrote it, fiddled around with a few of the lyrics, and then kind of put it away. I'd play it for myself with my machine. I had to justify the machine's existence. But then one time I was doing a concert for a company called Folio out of Utah, where I live. And I was a featured person in the concert. I didn't have enough music to fill up the concert. And so on a whim, I programmed one of the songs, my synthesizer version of Prayer of the Children. And that is the very first time that it was ever performed. I want to say it was, I wish I knew exactly the year, but it's been more than 25 years ago. I mean, it's been a long time. Then the next big break for the song came when Word Perfect, remember that company? So they were, I can't think of the word, typing, one of those companies. Anyway, they decided to do an album called Innovators. And this album talked about innovative people, Albert Schweitzer, guy in the wheelchair, physics guy. You know what I'm talking about. I totally had brain glitch here. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, Sam Carden and I, with producer Brian Blossel, we did this album. And the album had all these songs. None of them were a cappella. They were jazz. They were fusion, classical-ish, crossover classical, that sort of thing, and a little world music. And then we decided at the end of the album, Kurt, you got that song, Prayer of the Children. Let's put that on as the final song on the album. Because the whole song paid tribute to these incredible leaders and so forth, but the future of innovation would be with the children. So we thought, let's put the song on. So that's kind of how the song got out there. It for a while it was just me singing it, and then there was a lady named Andrea Klaus in Oregon, I believe, no, Washington. I'm going to say the name of the city wrong, but Puyallup, something like that. Anyway, she was known for a children's choir, writing for children's music, treble voices, and she had heard the song and said, Kurt, can I work with you on doing an arrangement of that song? I said, sure. And so that was really how the song got into the world of choral music. It was as an SSA song. And then I can't even remember who did the TTB version, but then there was an SAT version. I think Andre did that. Then there was a gentleman, Luther College, named Weston Noble, who kind of became a champion of the song, and he sang it. He's a very well-known educator of choirs, conductor. He had his choir do it, but then he also would take it around as he would do all state choirs and so forth. And pretty soon the song got even more notoriety. And this was kind of unbeknownst to me. I mean, it was kind of pre-emails and social media, so I really didn't hear about all this. But word would get to me occasionally, and then I would get some royalty checks that I could tell that the thing was selling. But I hadn't really done it for that reason. Well, since that time, now there's been thousands of choirs have sung the song, thousands of people have sung it, and people have danced to it, and it's been the backdrop for movies and YouTube videos about unfortunate tragedies dealing with children. People sing it every year at Columbine commemoration. It's done by a boys choir at the World Trade Center area in commemoration of 9/11. It's sung by some really eclectic groups. I mean, there's a lot of European choirs that sing it. And in America, there's even a rock group that I kind of grew up listening to, Three Dog Night. They do a version of it. It's kind of their encore. After people bring them back out for an encore, they do a couple of their tunes, and then they put their guitars down and they sing an a cappella version of this song, which I encourage you to listen to. It's especially if you're a Three Dog Night fan like I was. It was kind of cool to hear them sing my song. It's sung by people on American Idol. It's been sung there a couple times, most notably by David Archuleta, who I think year 9, maybe farther back than that. He was one of the runners-up. I think he was a runner-up. In any case, I'm honored that the song has been sung by so many people for so many reasons, and that the spirit of the song, which I intended, still exists, and that it's still, even though it was written for the war in Yugoslavia, which is now done, the fact that it's sung now, has kind of a resurgence that lasts a little while during this pandemic that's happening right now here in 2020. But I'd like to think that I got a lot of songs to write ahead of me, but if I write no other song, I'm grateful that I wrote this one. So now I'll perform it for you. This is Prayer of the Children. Can you hear the prayer of the children on bended knee in the shadow of an unknown room? Empty eyes with no more tears to cry, turning heavenward toward the light, crying, Jesus, help me to see the morning light of one more day. But if I should die before I wake, I pray my soul to take. Can you feel
hearts of the children aching for home, for something of their very own, reaching hands with nothing to hold on to, but hope for a better day, a better day. Crying, Jesus, help me to feel the love again in my own land. But if unknown roads lead away from home, give me loving arms away from home. Can you hear the voice of the children softly pleading for silence in a shattered world? Angry guns preach a gospel full of hate, blood of the innocent on their hands, crying, Jesus, help me to feel the sun again upon my face. For when darkness clears, I know you're near, bringing peace again. Dali čujete, svědče molitve. Can you hear the prayer